Game 2 of the 2025 World Series is now in the books, but don't spoil it for me. I haven't seen it yet.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever it's called these days, and on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of us is right here on the YouTube page. And make sure to use that hashtag EverydaySully. It helps us figure out who is sending us messages and comments. And we're going to be reading a bunch of those in the first segment today. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Hey, we're talking about Game 2 of the World Series involving the Dodgers. Let's talk about the trivia question. The trivia question was this: what Oscar-winning blockbuster included a major scene involving Game 2 of the 1963 World Series? There is a film that is not an obscure movie, was a huge hit, won multiple Academy Awards, and a big scene involved Game 2 of the 1963 World Series. MGMIOD said The Fugitive. Not only is that incorrect, The Fugitive is a great movie. It was a huge blockbuster, won Academy Awards and everything, especially for Tommy Lee Jones, who's remarkable in the film. Nope. As far as I know, there's no baseball references in that, but I would love to see Dr. Richard Kimball running through the middle of Game 2 of the 1963 World Series. No, a couple of people got it right, including Court Stell. The answer is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie of all time. My favorite movie is probably still Jaws, but One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which came out the same year, what a year that was, is still really high up there. And there's a famous scene where Jack Nicholson's character, R.P. McMurphy, wants to watch the World Series, and he is not allowed to. And so he basically stages a World Series play-by-play with the television off. He's calling a game in his imagination, and all the patients in the ward are cheering along with him, including a very young Danny DeVito and a very young Christopher Lloyd. It's a great movie. I think it holds up, and if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's an amazing movie. There you go. Okay. I like to do this every once in a while because I like to give you my thoughts before a game and after a game. Game 2 of the World Series has not been played yet. In the second segment of this podcast, we'll talk about what actually happened. I do think the Dodgers are going to rebound. I do think that Yamamoto is a good pitcher. I think he'll have a good game against the Blue Jays. And I think that the Dodgers will tie the series. I picked the Dodgers in 6. I do not think that's a bad pick. If the Dodgers lose today, they're in big trouble. Again, we've seen teams lose the first 2 games and come back to win. You have to go all the way back to last week to see that happen with the Blue Jays falling 0-2 behind the Mariners. Boy, man, it must stink to be a Mariner right now and a Mariner fan right now, 8 outs away from the World Series. But I digress. I think that you're going to see the Dodgers punch back. This is a gut check time for them. This is when they got to show this is what champions do. And so that's what I think is going to happen. My pick is a final score 4-2. And I think I think both Ohtani and Betts are going to get big hits tonight. And that's my prediction. 4-2 Dodgers going back to LA, tied at 1. I've got a whole bunch of people who commented. We had a lot of people commenting and watching the last video. A lot of people from Canada. And let's just talk about let's answer the things. I use Izumoli 6714 is going to contend a little bit with my Yamamoto pick. Yamamoto pitched a heck of a game against an anemic Brewers offense. I don't know if they were anemic. I think they were just pressing. I think they were pressing big time, and that's allowed them to have such a low pitch count. I digress. If we recall a start before the complete game, the Phillies tagged them in the only other loss the Dodgers have had this postseason. That's a great point. The Phillies, who are a better offensive team than Milwaukee, and I don't think they're as good as Toronto, did smack them around. So we'll see what happens. I like Big Lebowski 3961. At 3-2, I decided to walk my dog. Best decision of the night. By the way, I can't tell you how much of this postseason I have listened to, because I love listening to baseball on the radio, and how many times I have walked my dog Eleanor and listened to the game. That way, I'm not just sitting on the couch. I'm getting exercise. I'm moving my body, and I'm spending some quality time with the doggy. And you look at my steps. You can always tell if you look at the app on my phone when I'm walking during a playoff, because my steps just go through the roof. But yes, if you feel like that's the case, Big Lebowski, and you're a Blue Jay fan, there you go. This is I love this. This is Trader Phil 1967 says, I keep hearing it's better to get the doors blown off than lose a close game. Makes zero sense. I understand why you say it to a degree. I think, first of all, it's less frustrating. If you lost like 11-4, like the Dodgers did last night, and compare that to like how the Mariners lost the final game, where it turned out to be a one-run game with Cal Raleigh on deck, or like how the Yankees lost the final game of the World Series last year. If it was a 10-0, ask Yankee fans. There's something you hear in a lot of the Yankee reaction videos, that they would rather have been blown out than lose by one run in a game they were up 5-0. So psychologically, I mean, in the postseason, yes, I agree with you to a degree, Trader Phil, that it's kind of binary. You win or you lose. However, if you played a tight game where you had to use all your top bullpen, and you were on the verge of winning and it falls apart, as opposed to you gave up a 9 spot in the 6 and turned a close game into a blowout, I think it's easier to move on from a blowout, especially when you didn't have to use some of your top relievers. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but there you go. Let's see. Where's Sparrow the Hawk took issue with me, saying, imagine your starter loads the bases with 0 outs in the 6 and you blame the bullpen. I did give, to be fair to me, and I'm not often fair to me, I did take Blake Snell to task. He didn't pitch a good game. He didn't go deep enough into the game, and that allowed the feet of clay of the Dodgers to be exposed. That's on Snell, but it's also on the GD bullpen. I have no compunction. Look it up, criticizing the bullpen for this game, because when Snell left the game, yes, he left the game in the 6th inning with no outs and the bases loaded, and that stinks. But the game was tied. When they got to the top of the 7th, it was 11-2. The bullpen came up, and 3 inherited runners from Snell scored, and then Sheehan was relieved, and 3 inherited runners from Sheehan were scored, and 2 more runs were scored for good measure. The bullpen let up 6 runs in 1 inning. The bullpen's job is to get out of that. Yes, Ernie Clement is a solid hitter. Yes, Nathan Lucas has had a terrific postseason, but you're trying to get out of that with 1 or 2 runs tops, even 3. At 5-2, when Banda came in to relieve, it was 5-2 with the bases loaded. And yes, that stinks, but you can come back 5-2. After the bullpen was over, it went from a tie game to looking up and down the bullpen and say, hey, who wants to pitch today, and tell your grandkids that you played in the World Series. I have no problem throwing the blame on the bullpen. Let up 1 or 2 runs, it happens, because Blake Snell put you in that position. You don't turn into a blowout. Shohei Ohtani hit a 2-run home run. At the beginning of the 6th inning, it was a tie game. At the top of the 7th inning, Ohtani hit a 2-run homer. And it felt like a garbage time home run hit off of a utility infielder pitching. No problem with that. But there you go. By the way, pre-Dawn Raid 9037 said, for a not religious guy, you sure know a fine biblical scripture. I'm going to leave my religious thoughts aside. just because there you go. Um, just so you know, this is from Ricky Moore 66. Just so you know, Timlin got the ball from Joe Carter. This is when I was talking about how I love the Mike Timlin getting the final out of the 1992 World Series. Carter noticed the ball was still in his glove after the team got off, and so Timlin asked for the ball. It was one of his first saves. That's a nice moment. I still wanted him in the bottom of the dog pile. Hermit Frog 593 says Sully has been blank talking the Blue Jays for years, including this one. Now look at him. Yep, I was wrong. It turns out not firing John Schneider turned out to be the right decision. And I was calling for his head for years. And I turned out to be wrong. And I've been saying it. I did a whole apology episode. And I'll keep doing it. I will keep doing it. I was wrong. Absolutely. But some of you are not accepting my apologies, including Eric Lehman 4580 says, I will never call you Sully. Well, guess what, Eric? I'm going to call you Sully. What do you think about that? All right, so when we come back, Game 2 of the 2025 World Series will have been played. Hey, let's hear from our good friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. If you've missed the start of the game or want to ride a hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything, who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. And you know what? It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So the Dodgers are not going to be swept. And there you go. Everyone's fear that the Blue Jays were just going to overwhelm the Dodgers and sweep them. Do you know what? That's not going to happen. And there you go. And for the second series in a row, the Dodgers had a game one that showed that their bullpen was fallible, and they decided to do the ultimate bullpen solution, which was a complete game victory. And I mean, look at Yamamoto was terrific tonight. And for most of the game, so was Gausman. Lest we forget, and the final score was 5-1. That was a little bit misleading because until, the top of the seventh inning, this was a 1-1 game. And Yamamoto and Gausman locked antlers. Gausman retired something like 17 straight at one point before letting up the home run to Will Smith. Not that Will Smith, nor that Will Smith, but the other Will Smith got a home run. And then there was another home run by Max Muncy. Not that Max Muncy, but the other Max Muncy. And with that, that 3-1 lead, it didn't feel safe. When the Dodgers pushed it forward and the Blue Jays played really sloppy in the eighth inning and the ninth, when it got to 5-1, I was pretty confident the Dodgers were going to hold off. But once again, it's a novel way to deal with a bullpen issue, which is don't use them. And one thing that we saw in the series between Los Angeles and Milwaukee, and we're starting to see a little bit now, Dave Roberts is adhering to that managerial philosophy that I have been preaching from the highest tower, which is relieve the pitchers when they need relief. Now, to Schneider's credit, he did the same thing as well. Gausman, it was right to pull him in the seventh inning. He had let up a pair of home runs, both of them solo shots, but they were starting to get to him. The first 6 innings, he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Let up the 2-out run in the first inning, and after that, between the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth inning, the Dodgers were completely shut down. But this just shows the greatness of baseball. Yesterday you had a dynamic offense from the Toronto Blue Jays, sort of banging their chest and everything great. Today they eked out one run, one single run, 9 runs in one inning one day, one run totally the next day. And do you know who they looked like today? They looked like the Brewers. The Blue Jays looked a lot like the Brewers today, swinging early, you know, not grinding out at bats. I mean, Yamamoto there was not even a question that he was going to go pitch the final inning. It wasn't even, there was no suspense. No one was thinking, oh, I wonder if they're going to let him pitch. No, no, he was absolutely going to pitch. There was no reason to take him out and no reason to dip their toe into the bullpen. Sasaki still hasn't pitched in this World Series. Trinan shouldn't pitch in this World Series. Clayton Kershaw is still doing his victory laps for his wonderful career and hasn't pitched since I think he pitched in the Philadelphia series. And not very well, thank you very much. But Yamamoto pitched 105 pitches in 9 innings. Contrast that with Snell, who threw, I think it was 100 pitches in 5+ innings. Now, Gausman only pitched 82 pitches. And here's the thing about the starting pitchers. Gausman, 0 walks. Yamamoto, 0 walks. That's pretty dang good. And there were moments where it looked like the error that Freddie Freeman made. I know it wasn't ruled an error. It was an error. There's a couple little plays that were made that I thought the Blue Jays were going to knock, and they got a couple of runners on in the first inning. And I thought, oh, here we go. But Yamamoto, in the end, let up 4 hits and no walks, and he hit one batter. He hit Springer, and the hit by pitch of Springer, he came around to score. The lone run that was scored, and Springer was really the only player that that had really brought anything to the table offensively today. Springer doubled and was hit by a pitch and scored a run. Kirk drove in that run. Guerrero got a hit right off the wall that was a single, and then Clement was given. It was really, Yamamoto really only let up 3 hits because the ball that Freeman should have caught was called a hit, which is a joke. So essentially, Yamamoto threw a 3-hitter with no walks and 8 strikeouts. And the Dodgers bullpen is completely rested and ready. But here's the other thing. The Dodgers played the game, as I said, the way they played against Milwaukee. Milwaukee was tight. Today, Toronto was tight. By the way, one of the comments that I saw, and I saw this on a couple of people with the Blue Jay fans who were crowing big time after the Game 1 blowout, which was the Dodgers are hungrier. The Dodgers want it more. Okay. Can we put a pin on something? Every team wants it. The White Sox want it. The Rockies want it. The Sacramento A's want it. Everybody wants it. That whole, they are hungrier, they want it more than the other team, is a sort of nonsense narrative that you place onto a scenario like a waffle iron on batter to create something for the narrative that you want. Every team wants it. This is the dream of every single baseball player, whether you're born in Japan, the Dominican Republic, Canada, or Pasadena, California. So stop that nonsense. It was today 2 pitchers for the first basically 6 1/3 innings had this as a classic pitcher's duel. Gausman pitched in the 7th. Yamamoto went all 9. And with that, the Los Angeles Dodgers did exactly what they were supposed to do. Even though they had the doors blown off the dump in Game 1, they split. When you start the series on the road, your goal is to take away home field advantage. And the Dodgers have done exactly that. And for the person who asked me about the blowout victories versus anything else, what where was it that said, someone said that, I can't remember. Um, yeah, it's somewhere on here, and it doesn't matter. This is kind of why that the blowout victory from yesterday, or blowout loss yesterday by the Dodgers, you know what? They didn't have it that day. Dust yourself off and get into it. There's no lingering frustration for a heartbreaking loss. And with that, you now have the Dodgers, who are going to be starting Glasnow in game 3 and are going to be starting Ohtani in game 4. And we're going right now into a little bit of the underbelly of the Toronto Blue Jays starting pitching staff. Who are they going to start? Who are they going to start? Are they going to start Bassett? Are they going to start Scherzer? Are they going to throw someone on short rest? Who are they? I mean, who is going to be the starting pitchers in games 3 and 4? Now, right now, I mean, who are this? I mean, the starting pitchers in the series against the Seattle Mariners. You got Shane Bieber, who pitched well in one of the games. Scherzer pitched well in one of the games, and so you're rolling the dice a little bit here. Bieber and Scherzer are both former Cy Young Award winners. And Bassett, who's pitched purely out of the bullpen. Bassett has some history as a starting pitcher, obviously. This is a guy who's a former all-star starting pitcher with the Oakland A's in 2021 and threw 200 innings for the Blue Jays in 2023 and started 31 games this year. So they may give him the ball. But the advantage that they had in the starting pitching staff was tonight, because Gausman's their best starting pitcher. But the Dodgers threw Yamamoto. And with that, the Dodgers have done what they needed to do. Everything that they needed to do, they got done. And with that, look at anyone who thought this series was going to be a Dodgers sweep. Now, of course, that was taken care of yesterday. Anyone who thinks that the Blue Jays have taken control and the Dodgers don't have a shot now, do you know what? That ship has sailed as well. What we may have here is technically called a World Series. I went to the Major League Baseball playoffs just last week, and let me tell you something, there's nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it. Being surrounded by fans, cheering on the team, the excitement. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between long lines, login screens, prices, jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why when I went to the playoffs, I used Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guaranteed. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price that you pay. When I use Game Time, I get in just a couple of taps. I got amazing deals for the Major League Baseball playoffs. And do you know what? Right now, you can get NFL games starting for as low as $100. The app is super simple. You can even see the view. I saw the view at Dodger Stadium from my seat on the app, and you can do the thing no matter what football games you go to. I use the zone deals because I have the section I like to sit in. So I pick the section, and Game Time picked the seat for me. It's faster, it's cheaper, and honestly, it's less stressful than any other way I've ever bought tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's Locked On MLB is the promo code for $20 off. Swipe, tap, take it, go. Download Game Time today. Most of you are going to be watching this on the 26th day of October. And so it's happy birthday to Mike Hargrove, the human rain delay, who managed the Cleveland Indians to within one win of the World Series, held 2 outs away, technically 1 out away from winning the World Series in 1997, and was the manager of the great turnaround in 1995. Happy birthday also to Francisco Liriano, a member of the now infamous 2017 World Series champion Houston Astros. But do you know what? I don't blame him, and neither should you. He was a guy who basically had one of the great check off the bucket list careers. He played over 15 seasons, mainly with Minnesota, but he bounced around a little bit between Pittsburgh, the White Sox, the Blue Jays, the Pirates, the Tigers. He had a cup of coffee with the Houston Astros long enough to appear in the World Series and pick up a World Series ring. For his trouble, he pitched a pair of games in the infamous 2017 World Series. He was also an all-star, and he also threw a no-hitter and made several $1 million along the way. That is a classic, hey, you have checked everything off your list. All-star, long career, World Series ring, and the no-hitter. So happy birthday to the great bucket list checker. Mike Hargrove was the manager of Cleveland. As we mentioned, we wished him a happy birthday. He got the single worst birthday present ever, which was Game 7 of the 1997 World Series. That was the game where the Indians had a lead in the bottom of the ninth of Game 7, and Jose Mesa blew it. And then it went to the 11th inning, and Edgar Renteria hit the 2-out single just off the glove of Charles Nagy. If they'd made the play on that, it would have gone deeper into the game. And who knows, maybe Cleveland would have won the World Series. And what a great birthday present that would have been. Instead, I can imagine Mike Hargrove sitting in there with a little paper hat going, okay, yeah, this stinks. This really stinks. This was also this day was the Don Denkinger call, which the St. Louis Cardinals had a clear blown call. Don Denkinger blew a call on a infield hit by George Orta, and instant replay showed instantly that he was out, but he called him safe, and it led to a 2-run single by Dane Org that gave the Royals a 2-1 win, and then that frustrating win bled over to the next game, and the Royals won the World Series. And that was just, I remember watching that and going like, oh, this just doesn't feel right. This really doesn't feel right. Lots of memorable things. Will another memorable baseball moment happen on October 26, 2025? No, because it's travel day. So we're not going to have another game till Monday, and I probably won't drop another show until Monday. So until then, I wanted to say thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, check out the all-new and all-night MLB Game Night. Now, you know what MLB Game Night is. It's every game. It's every night until a World Series champion is crowned. And I bet it's going to be either the Blue Jays or the Dodgers. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB right here on YouTube or wherever you listen to the podcast. And let's go through the trivia question. Yamamoto threw a complete game victory in the World Series. Here's a trivia question, and be careful you listen to how it's phrased. Who was the first Los Angeles Dodger to throw a complete game shutout in the World Series? Who was the first Los Angeles Dodger to throw a complete game shutout in the World Series? Put the answers down below. Talking about the cocky Blue Jay fans in Section 1, about Yamamoto shutting them all down, and now we have ourselves a World Series and other things that happened on this day. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.